Hello and welcome to the Order of the Awen. My name is Jackson Wolf, and today I'm going to be talking about an interesting subject: is Druidism in Tamriel? There have been two references to Druids in the main series of games. The first took place in the very first game, Arena. When selecting a Breton, the game informed you that the Breton race are descendants of the Druids of Galen. However, many lore Nazis insist that Arena and Daggerfall, the first two games in the series, cannot be counted on for lore. It is after this that the game's lore begins to be fleshed out, and no mention is made of the Druids of Galen again. However, the word Druid does appear in Oblivion, which everyone agrees is canon to the Elder Scrolls lore. It appears in the form of the Cowl of the Druid. So what does this tell us? Unless we think that Borbagra Uzgosh, the merchant who sells the cowl, just made up the word druid, we have to assume that druids do or have existed in Tamriel. But what do we know about them? In the same way that we can learn about Daedric princes by studying their artifacts, we may be able to learn about the druids by examining their cowl. The enchantments present on the cowl support the theory that the Bretons are somehow connected. Bretons are a physically weaker race than other humans, so we see that the cowl drains the blade skill by 10 points. This would not pose a problem to someone with no intention of using a blade, because they are too weak to wield it effectively. Fortify Marksman is also present on the cowl. The great marksmen of Tamriel are the Bosmer or Wood Elves, while Bretons are known for their ability to use magicka. I believe it makes sense that a druid would want access to a physical means of combat as well as a magical one. Firing a bow would not require the strength that a blade does, and it would allow them to stay at a distance to use their magicka and arrows to fell an enemy before they are close enough to prove a real threat. With the Breton's natural magical abilities and the enhanced archery abilities, a druid would be able to defeat most foes from afar. While Detect Life is useful for anyone, I believe the Alchemy enchantment is the most telling. In the Elder Scrolls game, a Breton character has an immediate bonus to the Alchemy skill, suggesting that Bretons have both a natural affinity for it and commonly use it in their lives. If you ignore the Druids of Galen reference, the Bosmeri people are almost as likely to be Druids as the Bretons. I believe the answer to this lies in the history of the races. Bretons came to be from an interbreeding between men and elves a long time ago. I believe it is more likely that a group of Man-Mary people called themselves Druids during this transition phase, before the Breton race proper was created, than that the Bosmeri people, who have always been called Bosmer, would identify as something else. The final bit of what I believe to be evidence of the existence of Druids in Tamriel can be seen throughout this video. These large Stonehenge-like structures are present everywhere in the Elder Scrolls Online. In the real world, Druids were priests of the Celtic people. The Celts have long been tied to the construction of Stonehenge. Though we have little knowledge of the Druids of our world, we know that such a group existed. In the same way, I believe the Druids in Tamriel are a long-gone ancestor group of the Bretons. As the lore of the Elder Scrolls advances with each game, we may eventually learn more about them. Until then, these warriors will remain a lost culture, noticed only by those curious enough to ask the questions. I'm Jackson Wolf. Thank you for your time, and may your scales always return to balance.